I listened to the DAZN broadcast earlier, and they had you on, and you mentioned something about Canelo. Maybe he's stopping fighting in 2 years. Do you hear something we haven't heard? Because
No, I didn't know. The only thing I heard, AJ said that he's probably got 2 years there. That was in a Jonathan Ross interview last night. But
yeah,
you've got to think, how many fights has Canelo got left? I mean, he's never spoken to me about an end date, or how many fights he's got left. But 2 years is 5 fights, probably. I would say that's a pretty good number to say he's got left. I mean, what's out there for him? Munguia, maybe Belanga, maybe Benavidez, maybe a Bivol rematch. What else? I don't know. I mean, so I think, yeah, again, I've never spoken to him about time he has left, but I would say 2 years is a fair assumption. And, physically, you never know what's taking its toll on someone. I think the Munguia fight's a really good fight. Like, I think if Munguia can be physical in that fight, who knows what happens if it gets to 8, 9, 10 rounds. But I think the best style for Saul right now is someone that comes forward. Someone that is a little bit flat-footed and comes to fight. And I think Munguia will give him that.
so what happened with that whole situation, Eddie? There were a lot of chatter that Canelo was going to resign with you guys. He ends up doing this deal with PBC for one fight with Munguia. What's the relationship like now between you and Canelo, and is there plans to bring him back to Matchroom and to DAZN?
Yeah, I mean, I flew into San Diego to meet him. He asked me to come and see him. We had a great meeting. Obviously he had a long-term or a multi-fight contract with PBC. There was reports that it had gone, it was up again. But if they offered him the right fight, the contract was still in play. So for us, we wanted to land Canelo Munguia on DAZN. But when DAZN got the fight anyway, it kind of took away our play a little bit. And we were happy. We prefer to be promoting the fight, but I'm just happy that the fight's on DAZN. It's massive for our platform. And, we revisit every fight. Me and Sal catch up. And I think all things equal, he would always be with us, but he would always look for the best deal. And if the best deal's with someone else, he'll always take that as well. So, we've got big fights out there for him. Of course, the Belanga fight's there. If Bivol beats Beterbiev on June 1st, that's a huge rematch with Canelo Alvarez for the undisputed 175-pound championship. But he's all about the money, and he'll go wherever the money is. So sometimes it's with us, sometimes it's with others.
Yeah, the payday. And I know you heard the interview. He asked for 150, 200 million to fight Benavidez. A lot of people don't like that rhetoric. A lot of people have said,
yeah, I understand. Yeah,
Canelo's pricing himself out of the fight. There's no way that he can get that much money for a fight with Benavidez.
You have to understand that when you've achieved as much as Saul's achieved, rhetoric is not your biggest concern. Like, he actually doesn't care what people think. Like, he's established himself as a legend of the sport. He's fought everybody. And I don't know how serious he was about the 150 or 200, but why not? Give him your number. We live in a crazy world. Someone might pay it. I don't know. But one thing I know about Saul is he ain't afraid of anyone. He has no problem fighting David Benavidez. I think he's not over the moon about how much Benavidez would rehydrate in the ring, because he'd probably have 15 pounds on Canelo. But he has no problem fighting him. But he also understands that it's a huge fight. And if it's a huge fight, you better pull your money out, because that's the way Saul works these days, And he's got legacy. He's got belts. He's got everything. Now's about the fights that he wants and the money you're prepared to pay. So I think that message was more like, if you want this fight, pay me my money and I'll be there.
Was that more of a play for this next fight, because you have a relationship with His Excellency out there in Saudi Arabia, to make that fight in Saudi Arabia, given that they do have deep pockets over there? They could pay that amount for that fight.
I think they have deep pockets, but they're smart people. Like, their fight has to work for them. It's not just a blank check that can be written at any moment. There is a plan to what's happening in Saudi Arabia. And, I think we've seen before, one thing they won't stand for is people taking advantage of the fact that they do have funds available for major sports events. So if the fight makes sense and it's a fight that His Excellency likes, I'm sure he'd be prepared to do it, but only on his terms and the numbers that make sense for for Saudi Arabia. And, you know, they want to stage the biggest fights in the world. And Benavidez against Canelo is a huge fight.
Have you spoken to him about taking Canelo over there or staging a fight with Canelo over
Yeah.
there?
Yeah. I mean, and I believe Canelo's spoken to him personally as well. You know, I think His Excellency wants to bring the biggest names in the sport to the kingdom, and Canelo is one of them. So we'll see.
Would your fight with Canelo over there, would that be the better BF Bivol
Yeah,
undisputed fight?
I think I mean, Canelo against Bivol for the undisputed 175 pounds, huge fight. But we'll see. June the 1st is soon approaching.
Very, very true. Now, a few more topics with you, Eddie. The other one that I wanted to touch on was potentially, do you see Benavidez facing the winner of Bivol better BF, given that he is at 175? He doesn't want to wait around anymore.
Maybe. You know, obviously it's different platforms, isn't it? PBC, Top Rank, Matchroom, they're the three. We'll see. You know, I mean, Benavidez is a good fighter. Very good fighter. I say that because Jose Benavidez was sitting 6 feet away from me, but now he's gone. So, but I'd still say it anyway. He's a good fighter, you know, and he's going to be in great fights.
When you hear the well, he only brings 25 pounds to the fight, Canelo and other people saying that. What do you make of that? And he's 168. David's 168. Like, it doesn't matter what he rehydrates to. He makes the weight at 168.
Yeah. I mean, I think that obviously if you're a big 168, if you're a small 168, people have different advantages. You're quite right. Everybody weighs in at 168, but when you're in Canelo's position, you know, you have the ability to, you know, make certain deals that can sometimes physically give you more shot in a fight. I don't think that situation with the rehydration is Canelo going, oh, it's not fair. I mean, it's just fact. Like, Canelo's not a massive 168. He's boxed at 175 a couple of times, and you can see how difficult it was for him. But Benavidez is really a 175. Like, I know he makes 168, but he's going to rehydrate to you know, probably not a million miles off 200 pounds. So you're giving up a lot of weight in the ring, but it is what it is.
The AJ talk of retirement, I know you mentioned it earlier. Did it take you by surprise?
Well, there's only one person that ever spoke about AJ's retirement previously, and it was Thomas Hauser, who said he should retire. And now you're seeing the very best of AJ. I mean, he gave an interview yesterday where he said, I think I've got 2 years left. About right. 5 or 6 fights. Same thing with Canelo. You know, once AJ wants to box. If I said to AJ, who would you like to box? He would say, Fury, Usyk, Hrgovic, Wilder, Zhang, Parker. They're the fights that I think that excite him. So he just likes to fight the top guys. But after that, what are you going to do? You know, you're going to, I don't know, does Jared Anderson come through as a star of the division? Do you fight? I don't know. But like at the moment, we feel like he's in his absolute prime, physically and mentally. So very excited for the future. And we'll see what happens May the 18th.
Yeah, what is in store for him? Is he going to have a stay busy fight or just wait out?
I think his next fight will either be for the World Championship that would come available through the 2 undisputed fights, or straight for undisputed. But obviously they have a 2-fight deal, so we'll have to see.
I would imagine he would prefer straight to undisputed, right?
Of course, because we think we win that fight. And Hrgovic is not an easy fight.
When would that fight with Hrgovic take place?
August, September, something like that.
Okay. Interesting. Just a few more, Eddie, with you. One that I did want to bring up is what's the latest on Pacquiao in this Conor Benn fight, given the decision that was made, I want to say 2-3 days ago?
There's no news on a decision. I mean, there's been no statement from UCAD, Conor Benn, British Boxing Board of Control, but those guys are talking. I'm sure there'll be some news soon. The Pacquiao fight, nothing really. Just, you know, it's a fight that Manny wants a big fight. You know, he wants to make money. Conor's got lots of options, but we'll see what happens over the next week.
So what does that decision do in terms of Conor's career? How does it affect it this point forward, and how does it affect you guys getting a fight for him?
Yeah, no news on that yet. Only that he was suspended. His suspension was lifted and he was cleared. You saw him have 2 fights. If he was to be suspended again whilst another hearing takes place, then he'd have a problem fighting. But at the moment, as I talk to you now, he's not suspended in any commission in the world. So we'll have to see what happens.
Just overall, your opinion on the developments.
It's like 2 years. It's 2 years in June since the test. I've never known a case like it. Have you? I mean, we've got fighters, very high profile fighters who have tested positive, who have come out and cleared by WBA or the WBC or whatever. 3 months later, they're back fighting. No one said a word. Every day, this conversation. And Conor hasn't played it great because he's an emotional kid and he's want to defend his innocence himself. So, but very strange that the reaction's been the way it has for 2 years, but hopefully coming to an end.
Yeah, it's been a long saga for him. On a final note, Eddie, I just want to get your opinion. You know boxing, man. So Mike Tyson's been looking really good in these clips. Why are you laughing, bro?
On the pads.
Yeah, he has.
But what, in the 5-second clips?
Nah.
It's true, isn't it? I mean, look, don't forget Mike Tyson was one of the greatest fighters of all time. Like, it's not like he's going to look shit on the pads. I mean, he was a former heavyweight world champion. He's 59 or whatever. He's 58. Like, and I'm glad. I think they've said now it's not a proper fight, is it? Aren't they saying it's an exhibition?
It's still a little iffy. No one really knows what it really is.
Yeah. I mean, again, Mike Tyson's always going to look good on the pads in a 10-second clip. But listen, we've all got our own opinions of that fight. He, for me, is one of my heroes in the sport. I'd much rather not see him fight again. I also understand a lot of people are going to tune in to watch it, and that's the world we live in. So good luck to everybody.
Does he win, Eddie?
Probably
Can he
not.
do it? Probably. Really?
And I just, that's just when you're nearly 60, life changes, And Jake, for all Jake's faults, he's a fit, young, strong guy. He's never going to win anything major in the sport of boxing, but you should really be beating a 60-year-old man.
Okay, put this argument to rest then, because this is what I've heard from a lot of people. This is not my opinion, but this is what I've heard, and it's kind of interesting. They say, look, Jake Paul's a novice. Yes, he's young, 9-0. He's a novice, even at 58. Last thing to go is power. Mike Tyson has a lifetime of boxing experience. Mike should knock out Jake Paul within 3 rounds.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he could be gassed after 30 seconds. Like, he's 60, nearly 60. So, but as I said, I'm sure people will tune in to watch it.
Are you going to tune in?
We'll see. We'll see.
It's always that, like what if factor with those types of fights. What'd you make of that fight, Eddie, against Pitbull and Rolly?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure how Rolly ever became a world champion, to be honest with you, but fair play to him. I mean, and you have to respect him. Like, he made his money, like he got it. And the one thing you can't deny about Rolly, he's got plenty of heart. I mean, he got absolutely battered. He never actually went down, which was the most amazing thing, because he was out on his feet about 5 or 6 times in the fight, So, we have a guy in Subriel Matias. He has a very tough fight coming up against Liam Paro. But if he comes through that fight, Pitbull Cruz against Subriel Matias is one of the best fights in boxing. Mexico against Puerto Rico. Cruz, you saw that I think I wasn't there, but as I understand it, the best atmosphere of the night was for Isaac Cruz, So he's establishing himself. And if they want to do a unification, that's definitely something we'd look at. But, Rolly will be back. I don't think Rolly's good enough to compete at world championship level, but he's a great character, fun guy, plenty of heart. Good luck to him.
Yeah, you guys signed Subriel Matias, and I know, given his reputation, he's not a guy a lot of people want to fight. Are you confident, or is there a hope there that you can make fights with Subriel, with Hitchinson, with Pitbull Cruz, and the other 140-pound champions?
Yeah, I think, firstly, if you have ambition to be a unified or undisputed champ, you have to go through the champions. And real fighters do want to fight the champions. Devin Haney, I think he'd fight Subriel Matias. I hope that Isaac Cruz wants to unify. Richardson, I know, will fight him, And again, like, he's got a tough fight against Paro, but we're going to see how good Matias is against Liam Paro, because he can really fight. And, there's a huge amount of hype coming behind Matthias from the boxing world. Like, there's not every time you mention his name, the media, boxing fans, people who work in the sport go, that guy's a beast. So, we'll see in Puerto Rico on June 15th.
Yeah, I had a chance to sit down with Pitbull and I asked him like, "Hey, what are your plans for 140? What do you want to do? What's the biggest best fight you feel for you given this win?" And he told me there's two fights that I want out of any of them. One is Teofimo Lopez and the other one is Subriel Matias.
Well, if he wants it, let's make it happen. I mean, there's I just said then, not just blowing our trumpet, but there isn't a big fight scheduled now for the foreseeable future that isn't on DAZN. Even Munguia against Canelo Alvarez is live on DAZN. And I feel like that format, that structure where we can go to the PBC and say, do you want to do a massive fight? Isaac Cruz against Subriel Matias. We can do it on Amazon and DAZN can also broadcast it. You've already done it with Canelo Munguia. Like, that's going to be a successful model. We can make those kind of fights. So hopefully they'd be willing to do stuff like that. Maybe they want to feed him back to Tank. I don't know. But listen, that's a massive fight. And it's certainly one that would do great numbers.
Yeah, that's a violent fight too, man. You would think
Very.
either one or the other is going to go, if not both, go to the hospital after that fight. From what you saw of Pitbull Cruz, has he improved? Does he?
He's just a rugged guy. Like, he's just, certain styles are going to be no good for him, but he's always going to be competitive. He's got good heart. He's got good power. He's a tough guy, and even when you're schooling him, he's dangerous. You saw that with Gervonta. Rough to start off with while you're sort of dealing with him, almost like a bull and with a matador. And then once you control him and you tire him out and you work into the body and you slow him down, he's a little bit more controllable. But he's always going to be in the fight. He's an exciting fighter.
Now, yeah, and he's breathing a new life into this 140 division, which is now becoming like the money division. It was 135. The guys are starting to move up now. 140 is the division. Speaking of 140, Devin and Ryan, I know this fight is a huge fight for DAZN on pay-per-view. What do you make of the criticism coming out on the pricing of the fight, given the undercard?
I mean, the pay-per-view price is pretty much in line with any big fight in America. It is a big fight. I think a lot of people felt like it might not happen. And now with just over 2 weeks to go, people are starting to realize, oh my God, he's actually going to make it. And
were you worried at all that it wasn't going to happen?
I was. I mean, I think it's different. I'm just about to go and see Devin now. And I think it must have been quite difficult for Devin Haney because maybe he was thinking, is this fight actually going to happen? And now you'd have to think it is. And, maybe Ryan's looking great in the gym. I think it's going to be a good, exciting fight. I mean, I think fight week's going to be wild in New York because Ryan's going to be under a microscope from the media. And you've seen him, act differently, if you like, in the build-up to this fight. But maybe he's in a good place. Maybe he's happy to speak his mind and he feels like that's what he's doing. So I expect a great fight in New York.
Yeah, I saw you in one of his spaces and you heard some of the things he said. What do you make of the things he has said in the build-up to this promotion?
I haven't really understood a lot of what he said or what he's getting at. He's definitely behaved erratically, and he's definitely never behaved like this before. But sometimes, freedom of speech and being yourself and saying what you want to say can sometimes lead you to, freedom, if you like. And maybe he's in a good place because he feels like he can say whatever he wants now and what's on his mind rather than, I don't know. I don't know him well enough, really, but the times that I've met him, he's certainly very different now to how he was when I previously met him. So I don't know, but I hope that, and I'm sure this is the case, that he's got people that are genuine enough around him. They wouldn't let him go into this fight if he wasn't ready. Derek James, Oscar, Bernard, his parents, I hope, and I'm pretty sure they care enough to not let him go into a fight where he's not 100%. So I'm sure he's ready.
Some people have likened this to Devin's Mayweather Gotti moment, and they said like, hey, he's been channeling a lot of the same rhetoric that Floyd was saying about Arturo Gotti in the build up to that fight. Devin feels this is going to be a complete whitewash. It's a mismatch. Ryan shouldn't even be in the ring with him. The only reason he's in the ring with him is because he has a big name. But they feel that he's going to be dominant from the first round up until if it ends early or to decision. Do you see that same type of fight, Eddie?
Yeah, I think I'm not whitewash is a strong word. You know, I think he'll be very dominant in the fight. You don't really know again where Ryan's at, but if Ryan's at his best, he's going to be competitive. You know, he can punch hard. He's got good reactions. He's actually got a good style to take on Devin Haney, but Devin is so focused, so razor sharp. I think he's much better at 140 pounds, and I expect him to win the rounds to break him down. I do think he'll stop Ryan Garcia in New
Oh
York.
wow, really?
Yeah, I do. Very confident.
Okay, so a fan would hear this and say, Eddie, we know that Haney hasn't gotten a knockout in how long? How is he going to knock out Ryan? Right, Tank
But
couldn't even knock out Ryan on the chin.
he had Regis hurt and down. He's molding into 140 pounds. He punches a lot harder. His timing's good. And if Ryan gets desperate and makes mistakes, he's gonna land flush. And if he does, again, you know, we'll see how good the preparation's been from Ryan Garcia. But I personally believe he'll stop Ryan Garcia.
Man, that'd be kind of nuts, honestly. Seeing that happen over there in New York.
Depends on the fight that Ryan Garcia fights. If he's cagey, maybe not. But if he's aggressive, which he has to be in this fight, then there's every chance he can get stopped.
Like, you know, could he out? No, yeah, I'm not even gonna say it. All right, Eddie. Hey, man. Well, thank you for the time.
See you soon, mate.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it, and have a good, successful card. Thank you, Eddie.